Hi, everyone. This is Ron from POCculture.com. I'm here with Joy Cretton, who was the costume designer for American Born Chinese. Joy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. We're talking on premiere day. So the show finally dropped all at once on Disney Plus. How's it been in terms of getting the feedback and friends and family reaching out to you? Has it been a busy day?
It's been very encouraging so far. I'm waiting till tonight to watch it, but I'm getting a lot of texts and social media and whatnot, and I'm super excited so far.
That's great. I
Yeah.
mean, it's funny because it's been quite a journey, an exciting journey. But I actually ran into you. I don't know if you remember at D23, like
Yeah, I
almost a
was trying
year
to remember.
ago.
Yes. That was a
uh,
year ago?
isn't that crazy? Time means nothing.
Yeah. Didn't we take a picture together?
We did, absolutely. Yeah, we did, and I and we talked briefly about it at the time. I don't
Yeah.
think you could talk too much about it, but since then, it's been a little bit of a wild ride. Like the cast and crew has been all over the country. At the White House, you talked a little bit about that. What was that experience like to have so much support and exciting opportunities like going to White House for this series?
I still can't believe that's even real. I think I've been like so busy with work, I haven't fully processed that that happened. It just kind of feels like this crazy dream that when the president is announcing American born Chinese, it's, I cannot believe it. But it was really, really exciting and really beautiful and like to be in the White House in that room and especially entering into the White House. I that's like that was like entering into heaven. Like it was like such a glorious moment going up those stairs. Like we're gonna show our our little show here. I could not believe it. But yeah, I think it's real. I think it happened.
Definitely, it definitely happened. It's really interesting that you are referencing that moment where you're walking up the steps because Daniel Wu said the exact same thing. He said it
Oh,
wasn't.
really?
Yeah, he said it hit him at that moment walking up the steps that this was happening. So that must have been a little bit of a group cathartic experience for you all.
Yeah, I think it was all. I know I was with my brother and Calvin, and it's because there was like all these like uniformed people playing this glorious music and you're like walking up literally to the pillars. I don't know how is that even happening. We were all just like, huh? It's
That's
an
awesome.
amazing welcome committee that they do there.
Yeah, I'm sure they do it all big at the White House, and
Yeah.
it's really exciting. I think for fans like myself to see that and follow along on socials and all of that because it just never happened. Like I've never seen anything like that in my lifetime. And so kudos to you and your team. I mean, what an amazing opportunity. But before I even get there, I kind of wanted to go back a little bit, and I'd love to hear a little bit about your personal professional journey. Like, how did you even get into fashion and costume design? Like, what's your origin story of that?
I just talked about this and kind of realized it at the same time that I think it was um they're asking me like if it was like from watching TV shows or movies or specific things, and we didn't really watch TV. Like I think we didn't have a TV, and then when we got a TV, we could only watch TGIF, like one show per Friday, and so we weren't like big TV movie people growing up because I grew up on Maui in like a pineapple field and a cane field and like no close neighbors and just always outside and like always doing plays and digging in the bamboo costume basket that my mom always had for us since we were little. And that's the origin of my love for costumes is that basket that I can like clearly remember as a source of joy all the time. And she would just go to thrift stores and stuff and like toss things in there for us, and then we would just play with it, and then my brother would direct us and film us.
That is
So
an incredible story.
that's the unofficial start. And then he went to college for film school, and then I was going to fashion design school and didn't even know costume design was an actual job, but I was helping him with all of his college short films and things like that, doing crafty and costumes and all these things that I didn't know had actual names and were real jobs, but just like trying to help out. And then anyway, and then he made some really good, cool, successful films that got
He's done a few things.
and they had money to pay department heads, and then I was like, no, I can't take your money. But I ended up pairing up with Mira and Gordon Crozier, who did Short Term 12 with me, and that's where I learned like the proper way to really do things, because I was doing it in a way that I just came up with on my own without without training, which all worked, but it was like these roundabout ways. And so I was able to learn so much from her on Short Term 12. And that's when I was like, oh, this is a real job. I need to learn how to properly do it.
I love that. What an incredible story, just literally doing it with your family. And like you said, with Destin directing, of course, so the roots were there from the very beginning. Um,
Yeah.
but, but I love the way you're explaining it, because especially from those of us in marginalized communities in Hollywood, like a lot of us don't even know how we would get in. And you kind of have to figure it out yourself. And it sounds like you did. Um, what was kind of the hardest part about then going to like a more formal route on these big movies, and then making that adjustment?
I literally just started um, doing interning or being a PA or anything I could do to work on any set, because it was also new to me, and like especially trying to see how other costume designers do things. I was always trying to like get near them and just like see their systems, and I realized like everybody does things a little different. So that made me feel a lot better, because I was like, I have to learn the right way to do this, and getting to see that it's like a personal way of working, everybody has their style, was really encouraging for me. But I did so many little, anytime I could get on set, and the word kind of spread, so like any friend that was shooting a music video or like a commercial or just a project, I was always like the go-to person, and I'm really thankful for that. So I'm always like telling our PAs and our interns, like, just get on set as much as you can, because that's where you learn. You can't really like read and learn how to work on set. So it's all
Yeah,
just
that's
like
great.
being
Yeah, and like you said, it worked. Like what you were doing before worked, but you just had
there. Yeah.
to make sure that you were fine tuning it. And so you've worked on. You talked about, Short Term 12. It was a short turned into a feature film. I know you worked on Just Mercy, and of course Shang-Chi. What were some big ticket things that maybe you took from these different projects that helped you work on American Born Chinese?
Oh, from Shang-Chi, that was like the best gift ever, that I had that experience to take to American Born Chinese. I think that's why I felt so like confident in doing it, other because there was a lot of research for me to learn about all these mythological gods and things, so much research. But I had also done a lot of research for Shang-Chi, and so I had kind of had a good base. I had learned, I worked with Kim Barrett, who, it was like such a stunt heavy show, so I got to see how she builds costumes with gussets and stretch and all the different multiples and all these things that I learned on that huge movie, that I was able to use in American Born. And I'm like so grateful that I had that lesson, because I literally used all my knowledge from that show. And I always text her like, thank you, like I'm able to do this because of you, because that's where I learned it all. Because you don't learn those kinds of things on smaller shows, because they don't have the budget to do it. So like having like a stunt double and a body double and all these multiples, it's, you're not really used to that when you're working on smaller things. So it was yeah, I learned a lot, and I used all of that, which
Working with Kim, is there any piece of advice that she gave you during Shang-Chi that you kind of remember that really stuck with you?
um I just always like think about how she treats her creativity, like playing, and like she's very free. I think there's a I get I get a little intimidated sometimes, like, oh, maybe my ideas are a little weird because I like have such a different background and I'm not properly trained, or like, so I think I think having that like freedom to just be like, oh, what if we do this, and what, and she was always throwing ideas. Like, she's just like this mastermind who's like, what if we do this, what if we do this, and some works and some totally doesn't work, but like, it's just like having that freedom, I think, was something that I took from her. And also, like, she'd come up with ideas in the middle of the night, and then the next morning be like, I thought of this last night, and like, she just would like share her ideas, and then we expand on them. And so I try to do that with my team as well, like, just, and also keeping it open for anyone on our team to be able to give ideas. Like, I think you never know where things are going to come from. And even our PAs are like, I remember the accounting lady was the only person there in the beginning in prep, and so I'd be like, look at this, what do you think? Like, anyone that came into our office, I'm like, you're going to give us your opinion. That's, I mean, it's just like a collaboration of so many people's ideas, and you never know what's going to stick. So yeah,
I love that.
I learned that from Kim.
Yeah, what an exciting, and for someone on the outside like me, it's really fascinating to hear you talk about the creative process. And I really like the word you use, freedom, um, because that's so important in terms of coming up with these ideas. So you go from that, from working with Kim Barrett, Shang-Chi, it's like massive. It doesn't get more like larger than Marvel Studios, and a little bit staying in the family. You get to be on American Born Chinese, but you're the head of the department here, and so. Um, when you got that news, like you're going to work on this is next, like what were your feelings on it?
I think it's always like a little intimidating, and you want to do a really good job. And these like portrayals are so important, and so I didn't want to mess them up, and I wanted to make sure that we're being super respectful. And um, but it just required extra research and talking to everyone possible. And um, every actor that was cast, I always reached out to them to talk to them about their character, because they all had so much knowledge on them and grew up with them. And um, so this was a major collaborative team effort for sure, because we were all working together to get the right balance of like what significant elements like tie people to those characters. We wanted to have a little bit of that in each look, but we also wanted to do something really modern and new and exciting. And so it was this balance of like, how much should we keep, and how far should we push. And I guess, but in 104, that's the only time that we just really like went for it.
Yeah, let's talk about that episode. So episode 104, which is the one that takes place essentially all in heaven, and is the most Asian of Asians, anything that's been on Disney Plus, which I love.
It's all in
Uh,
Mandarin too, or most of
right,
it. Yep.
right. It's incredible. I love that it's unapologetically Asian. Is probably what I
Yeah.
would say.
Yeah.
Um, what, how did you go about this very exciting but probably daunting task of like creating this heaven that probably a lot of, especially Chinese audiences, has imagined and heard about through their whole lives?
Yeah, and I think like usually when you think of heaven, you think of like white and gold and like a little more like serene and ethereal. And um that was like the first thing we talked about. Is in the book, Jean's version of heaven was like really colorful and vibrant, and we wanted to do a take on that. Um and so that we knew we wanted to do that. And then it was just like figuring out how far we could go with the costumes. And we kind of thought of it like the Asian Met Gala, where it was like all these gods and goddesses like dressing up and like playing with fashion. And um, that was kind of the guide for us as we were putting it together. Is like, yeah, we know these things are over the top, but this is like a one time party, so they're meant to be going a little overboard. So it was really fun. And I think we did try to keep elements of um, of tradition in their looks, and we made a bunch of robes and collars and different things that we could add onto the modern modern looks, and so it was kind of a blend of not just looking like a super like a fashion show, but it was really fun. It was a lot of work. It was the hardest. It was one of the hardest things I've done putting that together. Um, our team was just scouring for we went to runway shows and like pulled Asian designer couture gowns that we put on people, and we were just like trying to do something that would be visually really exciting, and I hope it's that. I haven't seen it yet.
Which is that's crazy to me because I know a lot of your screenings. They've been screening the first two episodes.
Yeah, I've
Um,
seen those and they're really good.
yeah. Now I have seen it, episode four. I've seen them all, and it's absolutely excellent. I turned to my wife in the middle of that. I had to stop it, and I essentially said, "I can't believe they made this episode,"
Oh,
which is
I
great.
can't believe it either.
No, it's excellent. So to add to you're doing these amazing things, working with an amazing team, and then oh no big deal, Prabal Gurung and Philip Lim are going to join in terms of doing the costume design as well. What was it like to learn you're going to work with them, and what was the process like as well?
That was really intimidating when they told me that. I was like, is this right? And on this, like, is this show like way bigger than I realized? Like, what is going on? And then like the cast that was the cast members that were, I was like, what? Everything's so like big. Um, but yeah, it was, I mean, it was intimidating until we started doing we met and we would have creative Zoom meetings, and they were so much fun, and we just it was like I said, like really free, where we could just throw ideas around, and we went through all different versions of the gowns and the Monkey King, and we had a really awesome illustrator, Andrew Kim, um, who helped us get to something that I think is so perfect for both of them. Um, and I don't know, I'm probably still gonna be nervous around them because they're like mega star fashion designers. But it was like such a fun thing to get to collaborate with them on this.
Yeah, so cool. Now, speaking of megastars, I have to ask you about the goddess Michelle Yeoh. Um, you've shared on your socials a little bit of like working on the costume. I think you had showed another model like working, moving around in her
Yeah, that's
costume
her
just to.
stunt costume.
Yeah. So what was it like working with Michelle, who I assume you met in Shang-Chi, if not before, and just kind of reconnecting with her and collaborating with her for her look for this show?
Yeah, it was definitely a big collaboration. I mean, a lot of the actors talked me through like their ideas of the characters, but I think with Michelle, like we actually would have our creative meetings, and then I would take all of the ideas that we liked that we were coming up with, and I would send them to Michelle for her dresses, and then get her input or her stamp of approval, or like what she thinks we should do to keep it a little more accurate, or what elements we should keep. Like she was really involved in from the very start. So she was kind of like an honorary costume department member, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's amazing to work with. She's like so grounded and real, and collaborative. So she's definitely a part of her costume, her ideas.
Yeah, it just flowed so well. I love her look. I love everybody's look on the show. It's really really impressive.
I
Do
love
you?
her gold gown in heaven. I
Oh
think
yes.
like, oh, she looks amazing. And her like diamond veil, that was her idea. We were just like playing in the dressing room. We had like all this gold fabric and like bits and bobs of things that we were like, what can we do? What can we add on? And she like put it on. We're like, yes, it's perfect. Now you're like the mysterious party animal Guardian. It was, I love that.
What's your single favorite like design or costume that you got to do for the show?
I think the gold dress really stands out to me. Um, Also, like, um, our our dad passed away like while we were shooting that episode, so I
Mm.
left just for a few days, and she sent me a photo of her in it, like on set, and I was just like, oh. I think that's why it's so ingrained. It was like such a special, special moment because we'd worked so hard on it, and I wasn't there to see it like on the first day, but yeah, I love that dress. And the
Yeah.
like cloud, the gold cloud sleeves. It's just like so over the top and fun, and like the playful version of Guanyin.
Yeah, it's majestic. Condolences on your loss. So sorry for your loss. Um, but it's actually a little bit of a good segue for stepping away from the show a little bit. You know, you talked about your background. You grew up with your family in Maui. You didn't really watch TV. Um, from those who I know who grew up, you know, in Hawaii or other islands, there's definitely like a very strong family feel, which I get the sense from both you and your brother.
Yeah.
Uh, do you have this ever these moments of like, okay, but this is where we grew up, and now look at us. Like, how is this even possible? Like, is it surreal for your family, even your family members, to see where you are at this
Yeah.
point?
I think for our family and our friends, they have maybe have a little bit of that viewpoint, but I don't know. Whenever we go home, it just feels totally normal, and we're just like back home, and everything's the same, which is why we love to go back home so much. Is just everyone's just real, and I don't think they really care that we work in Hollywood. Like they're all like doing cool things on Maui too, and um, yeah. I mean, I guess it's yeah, it's just it's drastically different to be here versus I was like a preschool teacher on Maui before.
You're probably the best dressed preschool teacher ever.
I was probably a little too funky for the kids.
But it really sounds like it keeps you grounded, coming from that community and
Yeah,
still being so plugged in.
yeah, definitely. I realize it's like really important to go home after every project because you're like part of this. It's like it's like this machine and you never stop, and that part I don't think people can really relate to, like a lot of people, unless they do work in our industry, because it is like it's a lot. You're just it's like all night. I mean, our meetings with Philip and Probable were usually at night after we worked a full day or on the weekend, because like it's like you fit things in wherever you can because all you want is to like get this done and done really well. And um so you do it is a lot. So I think that part is probably not the most relatable to Maui, but then you go home and it all stops and you put your feet in the sand and then you're back to normal.
That's wonderful. Um, Before I let you go, you know, you've worked on some of the most amazing projects. I can't even, you know, early in your career. What kinds of things would you like to work on in the future? What really inspires you creatively?
um I really want to do a romantic comedy or something like really sweet and cute. I love these big superhero movies and all the action and everything. It's very exciting, but I I feel like that would be I don't think I've ever done anything that's just like really sweet and cute, and I think that would be fun.
What do you have a favorite romantic comedy personally?
Um uh yes, I might have to get back to you on that because I don't know the names of most movies. But it would be like the ones that I was able to watch in high school. Usually
Yeah,
like
formative
being
years.
away. But
Well,
yeah,
I would definitely love to see your, you know, just your creativity and freedom, like you said, in a romantic comedy. I think that would be great. So
thanks.
hopefully somebody can hear us and you can step away from the
Even
superhero
if no
world.
one watches it, I just think it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll watch it. I'll definitely watch it.
Not
Um,
having to make like 10 costumes of each one. Like that's the hard part about these big things. It's just like there's so much. It would be nice to do something a little simple once.
10 versions of $1 million costume or something. That's fun.
Yeah.
Well, Joy, I really appreciate talking to you. Thank you for making the time. It's been really cool to just follow along and looking forward to your future projects.
Well,
Um,
thank
I'm
you.
gonna I'm gonna let you go with a last question. What kind of big brother was Destin growing up?
Ah! big question. He is really weird. And I talked about this recently that I hope kids that watch the show can change the narrative of weird to be something positive, because I think like being weird is like the coolest thing you can be, because then you're different and you're interesting and you have your own thing going on, and that's how he was and still is. And he owns it, and he makes amazing things with it, creations with it, and I really admire him for that. He's the best big brother.
What a perfect end to this conversation. Well, thanks for sharing that. Joy, congratulations on an amazing show. Awesome work, and look forward to connecting with you again in the future.
Thank you, and thank you for wearing that cool shirt and having the best backdrop.